What's your take on ChatGPT financials? What financials? So this, I assume, is in reference to the IPO and the interview that Sam Altman gave. Was it last week when he was talking to a VC? I've forgotten the guy's name. Dan. I've forgotten his name totally. But he was asked in an interview, and Sam Altman is sitting there with Satya Nadella from Microsoft, and Sam Altman is sitting there, and he's asked, hey, you're asking for $1 trillion for your IPO. You want to raise $1 trillion. It's going to be the largest IPO in history. You're looking to bring in a huge amount of cash, and you're saying that you need to do this just to get to profitability. Your company is currently making somewhere in the tens of billions in terms of revenue and is totally non-profitable. There's a mismatch here. So you're asking for an obscene amount of cash, and your company was just not making enough revenue to come anywhere near justifying this kind of valuation and this amount of raise. You're saying to us that you need $1 trillion to make this sustainable and push forward. And interviewers, you understand this doesn't match up. There's something wrong here. Instead of just making something up, you know how CEOs are good at bullshitting, basically. He could have come up with something about exponential growth or AGI or entering a new type of financial paradigm, etc. He didn't. Sam Altman just said, I'm sick and tired of hearing about revenue. And he basically snapped back saying, I'm not going to talk about revenue. This is irrelevant. And he was sitting there in front of the head of Microsoft, who was also in this interview, because Microsoft are the people that Sam Altman needs to convince that this is worth the money, because Microsoft and OpenAI are so indelibly linked up. I think Microsoft now own 27% of ChatGPT, so OpenAI, after the for-profit conversion. So I think this is a big question. The amount of cash they need to make, the amount of revenue and the amount of profit is phenomenal. It is not unheard of for businesses, especially in tech, to not make a profit for many years. I think Amazon took 12 years before it turned a profit, but that was strategic. It was on purpose, because when you don't make a profit, you don't pay taxes. So you can continue to reinvest. In the case of Amazon, it allowed them to become this behemoth that basically dominates all e-commerce. They crushed all competition. They crushed the high street. They removed all competitors. And then they're like, okay, now we're going to turn a profit once they owned the market. It's harder to make the argument that OpenAI will be able to pull off something like this, because it's just a different type of product. We can switch platforms very easily. I think financial wise, we're probably in a bubble, and there will probably be a reset. I do not think that undermines the technology. A lot of people say, oh, I hate AI and I'm looking forward to the bubble popping and we can stop worrying about artificial intelligence. Just need to turn on my fan, and we don't need to worry about AI because it's all going to go away. Artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. Generative AI, it's a useful technology that now about 10% or more of humanity are using on a daily basis, not because it's a fad, but because it's genuinely valuable for them. And we're starting to see research showing that it is actually producing a return on investment in businesses as well. So we had that MIT research from a couple of months ago saying that 95% of pilot projects fail. That was a flawed study because it only looked at top-down flagship projects, things that were coming from leadership, and leaders were like, we need AI, do AI, and it was trash projects. Whereas what we're seeing is when AI is adopted at the grassroots level by people who know what they're doing in a job, they know the workflow, and they know how AI can help with that, then it's really useful. So we have a new Wharton study which came out last week, which shows us a more accurate picture. Because I know most of you watching this, and I know for myself, I've increased my productivity by, I don't even want to say tenfold, probably 100-fold. I was up until midnight last night building a piece of software which works. It's something that I'm going to be taking to market, which I would not have been able to do prior to artificial intelligence. So anecdotally, a lot of us at the base level are seeing huge productivity gains and the ability to build and create. So it just doesn't match up that businesses are not seeing this. We are seeing AI helping. The technology itself is going to be sound, but for OpenAI, who are going for a valuation of 1 trillion, I think there will be a financial correction. And unfortunately, OpenAI is connected to everybody. So they have deals with Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia, Oracle, etc. Everything is interlinked with OpenAI. If they don't deliver, it's going to be a nasty correction. It'll probably make 2007 look like a child's play. I work quite deep in the AI industry, and Google have been playing catch up. Yeah, as far as I know. I think that's very fair. I think Google are in a weird position because generative AI is I think they accept the future, but it is also a massive threat to their business model. Google is primarily an advertising company. It makes about 70 to 80% of their revenue from running ads on search. So search is their cash cow. Generative AI as a whole, as a technology, is a threat to the paradigm of search. Instead of searching for indexed information, we can now generate it because we've used the internet as the training corpus for generative AI. Google recognizes that this is going to be a problem because they currently make 70-80% of their revenue from search. It doesn't come from cloud computing, that's about 12%. It doesn't come from Android, it doesn't come from Gmail or any of those products. Those are just ecosystem products which bring us into their ecosystem. It comes from advertising. So Google know that they need to slaughter their cash cow, search marketing, search advertising, and get on board with generative AI. But if they go too fast, they'll be slaughtering their cow too early and they'll run out of cash. If they go too slow, they're going to have their lunch eaten by OpenAI. So Google are in a very unenviable position. Thankfully, they have some of the best researchers on earth. They have the ability to take a lot of product to market, too many products sometimes, like their coding tools. They have about 7 or 8 different AI coding tools, things like Google Opal, which is fine, AI Studio Builder, etc. They have many products, but they're not very good at capturing the attention in the same way that OpenAI are. I think Nano Banana was the only thing recently where people are like, oh, Google do AI, that's cool. And that Gemini actually hit the top of the App Store. I think Google are in a weird position. They know they need to make the shift, but they are this gigantic boat that needs to turn around. It's going to be tricky, and they need to get on a course where profit and even revenue has not been proven. There aren't really many Gen AI companies that are making good money. To go from making a huge amount of cash via advertising to irregular or unproven revenue is difficult. So Google are in a very interesting position. If anyone can pull it off, though, I think it's them. But yes, they're definitely in catch up.